Welcome to the Construction Management Fundamentals course series. Now, if you're watching this video, you're either thinking about joining the construction industry or you've already joined. And either way, I applaud you for that. This is an industry that I've been a part of for over 2 decades, and I find it to be very fulfilling. Now, it's stressful at times, it's very challenging, but it's very rewarding. It's an honorable profession in my mind. Think about if you're part of building a hospital and it has 400 patient rooms. How many patients will go through that hospital after decades that hospital is in use? What if you're building a water treatment plant or a water distribution system? How many millions of taps turn on each day and those people get clean water? It's a profession where you can say, I built that, and you're a part of helping society and doing good for society. Okay? In this course series, I'll describe the fundamentals, the tips and tricks, the terminology, the things that I wish I knew when I joined the industry. Part 1 of this 4-part series is the construction overview and planning a project. Now, the first lesson will talk about the construction industry. So it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and globally, it's a massive portion of our economy. And when we say construction industry, it's not just contractors. We'll talk about the key players out there. So the owners, the design team, that could be engineers and architects, and the contractors, general contractors, subcontractors, and suppliers as well. All the major players it takes to make these projects happen. Then we'll talk about design versus construction. So if you're watching this, you're either early in your career or you're trying to figure out where you want to go with your career. I'll make some distinctions between a career in construction and a career in design. And there's definitely some differences there, and I want to make that clear in your mind. And then we'll talk about life in the industry. So I've spent a lot of time in job trailers. I've spent a lot of time on the owner side, and I'll talk about what that life is like. Again, maybe that'll guide some of your decisions along the way. Also, part 1 of this series would be the life cycle of a project, from its inception, perhaps in master planning, through project planning, selecting a design team, designing the project, and then moving into construction and building the job, and eventually turning over the project to the owner. A pretty happy, relieving, proud day for a lot of people. And then the owner operates and maintains the project, and then eventually, what happens to it? You either have to expand it, renovate it, or perhaps demolish it. Okay, that represents the life cycle, and what you see in red represents the major phases that we'll focus on in this course. Okay, starting with master planning, let's say you're a major organization, a corporation, a campus, a town perhaps. You have a lot of projects on your mind in the future. We'll talk about the different things to consider to prioritize those projects. And then eventually, you'll spin off into some specific projects, and we'll talk about project planning. And then the key trigger to get you into construction or into design is financing a project. So we'll talk about where money comes from to build these jobs. Okay, so that would be part 1 of the series. Part 2 of the series will talk about project delivery systems, payment options, and procurement options. Let's start with delivery systems. So how do you contractually bind the different major players we talked about over in part 1? So the owner, the design teams, the contractor teams. Is this design bid build? Is it design build? Is it CMGC or construction manager at risk? Multiple prime, integrated project delivery? Okay, you'll be able to define all of the above by the end of this lesson. And you'll be able to pick out the advantages and disadvantages of each. And by the end, you'll be able to apply different characteristics and traits of a project to each of these delivery systems. Okay, then we'll move on into payment options. How do the different major players get paid? Lump sum, cost plus, unit price? We'll talk about the options. Then we'll talk about procurement options. So let's say you have a museum that you're building in the bottom left. Do you want to hire a contractor based on low price? I don't know, maybe you want to consider experience. Okay, so we'll talk about the different options and the spectrum in which you can hire people, from low bid all the way to negotiation and somewhere in between called best value. Okay, and maybe you're pouring sidewalks, maybe that lends itself to a low bid procurement method. Now, this represents just the beginning of a lifelong learning process in construction, but I believe it'll set you off on the right foot in your career.